Major achievements: FDIs and infrastructure developments. PPPs also helped promote foreign direct investment for large-scale infrastructure projects. Various incentives were provided to attract FDIs in the early 2000s. For example, the allowance of selling the operating rights of profitable infrastructure facilities, put option contracts, and the relaxation of various restrictions on foreign capital loans and foreign currency loans from overseas financial institutions when they were used for infrastructure investment. Thanks to these measures, foreign investors actively participated in PPP projects, completing such projects as Busan Newport, Busan Gimhae LRT, the second Incheon International Airport Bridge, Machang Bridge, Songdo Mansu Sewage Disposal Facility, Mount Sujung Tunnel, etc. The combined total amount of FDI reached more than $5.4 billion, which is quite substantial, given the fact that the country barely overcame the financial crisis in the early 2000s. Economic and fiscal contributions, substitution and complementary effects. The degree of contribution of PPPs to the total infrastructure investment ranges from a low of less than 1% to a high of 17% a year. Nonetheless, the PPP-driven infrastructure developments in aggregate undoubtedly helped Korea significantly upgrade the quality of life on one hand, and its industries secure a competitive edge in the global market on the other. The Korean economy grew in leaps and bounds, thanks partly to investment multipliers resulting from PPPs, generating a tremendous amount of income in value-added terms and a large number of jobs. The government could have saved a lot of tax monies via PPPs. In the absence of PPP projects, the government might have spent 88.8 trillion Korean won on BTO projects and 32.3 trillion Korean won on BTL projects over an almost 25-year period. Obviously, not all the money came from the private sector. The government might have contributed as much as 30 to 40% of the total investment on average. Even so, the government still saved a huge amount of money in providing high-quality infrastructure services earlier than scheduled. Had there been no PPP-driven infrastructure developments, Korea would have also been economically less affluent and socially less stable and progressive. PPPs also helped the country get a few steps closer to sustained socio-economic progress and improvement of QOL. Otherwise, the infrastructure-poor situation would have continued and possibly worsened, and the growth momentum might have been lost. All in all, it is clear that PPP as an institution has significantly contributed to the country's socio-economic development and welfare, not to mention competitiveness in international trade and globalization. Performance record of the PPP projects executed and invested. There were a total of 765 PPP projects being implemented between 1994 and 2020. 502 of them were BTL projects, and the remaining 263 were BTL projects. The latter types included not only hardware infrastructure, such as railways, highways, piped water and sewage treatment plants, but social ones, for example, hospitals, senior homes, welfare facilities, libraries, museums, college dormitories, and military housing. The total PPP investment amounted to 121 trillion Korean won. The share of BTO and BTL projects accounted for 73.4% and 26.6% respectively. BTL project investment amounted to 64.1 billion Korean won on average, where that of BTO projects averaged 336.7 billion Korean won, more than 5 times larger than BTL projects. Recently, however, the number of PPP projects has significantly fallen. For example, only 12 projects were executed in 2020, with 684.7 billion Korean won in investment, and 4 of them were BTO projects, worth 382.7 billion Korean won, and the remaining 8 projects were BTL, worth 302 billion Korean won. Educational facilities topped the BTL project list, being followed by environmental projects, national defense, road construction, and cultural tourism-related projects. In terms of investment volume, the transport sector projects overwhelmed other sectors. The road and railway construction projects combined accounted for 76.7% of the total investment. The average amount of investment in railroad projects alone amounted to 1.6 trillion Korean won, more than twice the road construction investment